Please come in. You're right on time. The door only opens when the clock strikes midnight. Georgia and Hannah are preparing to broadcast from the belfry. Just like this old bell tower, they have many stories to tell. Some old and some new. Follow me up these stairs, but mind your step. Ah, they're waiting for you.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
What the fuck is up, Kyle? No, what did you say? What did you say, dude? Step the fuck up, Kyle.
I don't know what that means.
Okay.
I thought you were starting like a like, what's up, dog, thing, and I was like, what's up, Kyle? What does that even mean?
Ask Shannon. He'll get
Okay.
it. And he'll think I'm funny.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Is it?
It's gonna have to be, because this is
Okay.
what we got. This is episode 5.
Hell yeah. Hey.
It's also the first time we're recording since the first time we recorded
Yeah.
back in
Which was like
January.
literally like a month and a half ago.
So, we're doing great
Yeah, we're doing so well.
mentally and physically, and that's why you just have to be patient with us while we drop our first few episodes.
Yeah. There's really something to say about sorry, I wanted to put my phone on silent. There's really something to say about burnout here. I feel like Georgia and I both work really hard in our careers.
Hmm.
And then outside of that, it's really just recovery, right? And
Yeah.
there's no time and no energy for growth. It's all spent on just surviving.
But then we're
So,
also still doing things like
yeah,
trying
like
to have
trying
hobbies
to,
and a social life and like,
yeah,
I don't know, like DBE stuff and podcast stuff and all of our RPGs and
it all just accumulates because like we want to do those things. And I would say those count as like growth outside of like career, but because we
we're so
put so
tired.
much mental energy into what we do, which is
Hmm.
not fair to ourselves, um, you know, we just end up burnt out and like sick
Rotting on
or
the couch.
rotting on the couch or daily panic attacks or whatever, what have you. So we have been on a journey, a self-love journey, us two and our friend Kat,
Number
trying
number
to
3 fan.
number three fan
Third
outside of
only.
Shannon
No, no,
and
no,
then my
outside of your
mom.
parents.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was
I was
gonna say
counting your
what?
dad in there too.
Oh, okay. I figured Shannon would be our number one fan. You've even said so yourself on the podcast.
Well, yeah, I guess. I think that's just because
He's
he's a
like,
number 1 fan of us.
oh, that's true. I was gonna say he's like the other member of the pod, but also like
Yeah.
number one fan, you know,
And
because he's the other member.
he like ships us and our friendship really hard.
That's really funny.
Like anytime I'm
I mean,
tired
me
or
too.
whatever, he's like, "Do you need to like have girl time with Hannah or something?" Like, I don't know. I don't know what I need. Which is also a
It's
symptom of
weird.
burnout.
Sometimes yeah, for real. Sometimes I'm like, I just need some alone time with Georgia. Is that weird to say? Like, I'll say the same thing with
No.
Seth. Like, I just need some alone time with Seth. Um, but
Yeah.
anyway, we're Georgia and I are both really trying to focus on figuring out what we need
Uh-huh.
individually and try not to make it too hard because this podcast is like it's so fun. We both have a really great time and it means a lot
Yeah.
to us. I really like learning.
And I don't want
I'm
it to feel
having
like a
like
chore because then we're gonna
yeah,
resent it.
yeah,
So, and also like we put these deadlines on ourselves,
yeah.
Excuse me.
Thinking that like, we're still operating under this, like we can just get past the stress and the exhaustion and the pain or whatever when we shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
So we're chilling.
Um, what did you do for Valentine's Day? Did you eat your chicken?
I did. I ate my chicken.
Where did you get Windy City?
Yeah, we went to Windy City. I
Hell yeah.
got a 4 piece, ate it all because it was so good. Never done that before. I usually only eat like 2 pieces, but I was hungry. Um,
Yeah, I
the
can get a
fries,
4 piece and
obviously.
split it, and I'm so because they're so huge.
Yeah, dude. It's
Their
like,
fries are so good as well.
oh my God, the fries. I ate the fries first. I was like, like a little gremlin.
Yeah.
And then I got a pink lemonade. Instead didn't get a
Nice.
drink. And then I had some wine. I made some chocolate chip cookies
Hell yeah.
and had 3 of them. And then I had 4 more this morning. No, I think I had 5 actually.
Okay, when I made chocolate chip cookies last weekend, I think I ate like 12 of them as I was
Yeah.
standing there.
Well, I was so full, but Seth and I were both so full
That's
last
true.
night from the chicken that it's like,
Yeah,
well, I can only eat a couple.
that's fair.
And so I made 2 batches, and I had a batch left over, and I just saved the cookie dough to eat for myself sometime.
Hell yeah.
It has raw eggs in it, but
That's
raw
fine.
eggs are less dangerous than raw flour.
You're just gonna get bird flu.
That's fine. Actually, no, that's not fine because it can pass to felines really easily, and I don't want Milo to be.
No, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What did
Um,
you do for Valentine's Day? Well, I will say your Valentine's Day started out
it's
with
such a
something.
terrible day.
Yeah.
I don't even want to get into it, but I will say that I didn't even notice how much I noticed the smell in my bedroom until it's not there anymore.
Mm,
So, anyway, that gas pipe is all blocked off now.
that's good. Did they just like show up and say like, "Hey, you have a gas leak," or did you like contact somebody or
No, Mary contacted them. And they
okay.
were like, "Oh, we count that as an emergency."
Oh my God, I wonder if that's gonna help with your
I
headaches.
know, because that pipe is like right by where, like my side of the bed. It's like
Yeah.
right under my nightstand. So
Do you sleep on the left or the right? Like when you're in the bed.
when I'm in bed, I'm on the right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if we were matching, but I am on the left.
I sleep. I used
This
to
further
sleep.
proves that Shannon and I are the same person. More
I
evidence every day.
I don't know what it is that determines which side of the bed I sleep on, to be honest, because at my last apartment, I slept on the left side,
Hmm.
which is closest to the door, which is weird because when we're in hotels, I sleep furthest away from the door.
Hmm.
Um, I think it kind of depends on like honestly accessibility to a nightstand. Yeah, I think it kind of depends on I don't know. I don't know. Because even before Shannon moved in, I would sleep on that side of my bed.
Yeah.
And then Luna would sleep on the other side.
I don't know. Maybe there's something to say about like uh I don't know. Like when you're at home, you want to be closer to the door.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe I need to think about what cardinal direction I'm facing or something. See if there's
Bruh.
any correlation.
Shut up.
Uh, but
That's
yeah.
funny.
Then Shayna moved in, and now Luna sleeps on. So she also switched sides of the bed, but I didn't. So she sleeps on the very left side, right side, sorry, and I sleep in the middle on the right side, spooning her. Which in I saw like I've seen several videos that talk about like if your cat sleeps here, it means this, and if your cat sleeps here, it means this.
Yeah.
If your cat is Little Spoon, that means that you are their guardian.
Aw.
And I'm
Oh yeah,
obsessed
you
with
sent
that.
that to me.
Yeah.
That thing about like where the cat sleeps on or near you. And Milo, for the longest time, did sleep on my like around my feet.
hmm
Um, which I think means that they're guarding me or something. I can't remember what it was, but
Yeah, I think so.
um,
And that he always slept on me on top of me when I slept on your couch.
yeah.
So he thinks that I'm his property or
Oh
something,
my God.
which is fair, honestly. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's valid. You gotta come see Milo. He's been so good and cute.
No. Oh.
Shannon picked him up when he was over here before. I was shocked. Not
And
that
he
he
was
let
fine with
him.
it?
He didn't. He was cool with it for like a moment,
Yeah.
and then he like suddenly remembered that there's a bunch of people around. Because like he doesn't even like me holding him when a bunch of people are around.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. They bonded
Yeah.
so fast though,
Yeah.
which was annoying. Anyway, we're doing something super fun tonight.
Oh yeah, we are.
I'm so excited.
I think I gotta iron the shirt that I got.
I don't know what to do with my actual face. Um, I'm trying to decide if I want to like paint on like a little bunny nose and whiskers.
Oh, that would be cute.
So we'll see. I'll see how much time I have because I need to help Shannon finish his mask too.
Yeah, because it's a masquerade, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm not bothering with it just because I have my freaking glasses.
Yeah.
I might like do some sort of silly thing, but
You could even just paint like little like, like hearts or something. Like
yeah.
Queen of hearts, or like card, like suits or something. Oh God, I'm all burpy now. I just downed some fries. Um, I wanted a hash brown, but Shannon was like, "Oh yeah, it's after 11," and I was like, "Fuck!"
Yeah. My mom just texted me, Uncle Bill wants to know what the weather will be like for you tomorrow.
What?
What?
He can probably Google it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna quick text her back.
I mean, it's supposed to get really cold
Yeah,
after
well, it's a high
after
of
tomorrow,
20.
I think. Or after
Yeah, yeah,
today
yeah.
is really it's supposed to get cold, but after
Because
tomorrow's when it
like
gets really cold.
tomorrow it's gonna be really windy, and I think
Yeah.
that's why it's like,
And then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Monday it's gonna be like
Like,
in the negatives
yeah, like
at
freezing
night.
cold.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay.
I love when it gets in the negatives because um my house stays like really, really warm because of the brick insulation. But when it's windy, it is freezing in here
Ugh.
because it's so drafty.
Yeah. But anyway, I gotta help Shane finish painting his mask. He I paper mache his face the other day. I think I
Oh
sent
my
you a
God.
Snapchat of that, which is
Yeah.
really funny. Oh yeah, I guess I said that I murdered him when I was making a death mask.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was really funny.
he made the cheeks with like because anytime I get a sports bra, I always pull out those stupid pad cup things because they're
Yeah.
pointless and they get all bunched
They're
up.
stupid.
And so that's what the bottom part is made out of.
My God. Okay. I apologize.
But yes, so I'm gonna be the White Rabbit, and you're gonna be Tweedledee
Yeah.
or
Tweedledum,
Tweedledum.
Tweedledum slash Tweedledee.
Okay. Tweedledum.
Yeah.
Got it. And Shannon is gonna be the walrus.
I asked Seth if he wanted to come, and he didn't even give me a yes or no. He just kind of listened. I was like, I wasn't sure if it was your thing, but if you want to come,
Us weirdos will have a great time.
yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'll tell you a story now. Remember when we went to New Orleans and how much of a great time it
Oh
was?
my God, it was so fun. I love New Orleans, man.
Me too.
She's great. Something about her.
Well, we're going back mentally.
Okay.
So when we were there last spring, almost a year ago now, which is crazy to me,
Shut up.
we did several ghost tours, all of which I think we recommend. They were all good for different reasons.
Yes. Who was the one tour guide? Richie?
Richie was great.
Richie was incredible.
Literally, none of them were bad, and almost all of them really emphasize the fact that their stories have been heavily researched. So they give you the story and then they give you the facts. I think Stella did not do that as much. I think Stella liked the storytelling more so. But I feel like the other ones were all. The one that did that the most was the one I did while you guys went on your Garden City date.
Oh, yeah.
They were that what was that guy's name? I can't remember. But that one was that was the like bad bitches or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
It had a really stupid name, but it was all about the women of, New Orleans.
Yeah.
So that
I
was
just
good.
wanted to quick clarify that it's the Garden District.
Or Garden City. What the fuck did I say?
It's okay. I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify in case my mother messaged me and is like, that's not what it's called.
So that tour I did through Ghost City Tours, and a lot of my information actually comes from their website because it seemed pretty reliable, and like I said, they really emphasize the fact that they do a lot of their own research. And I also found a thesis called, I think I told you a little bit about this already, Houses That Try to Be Haunted, which was really fascinating, even though it did talk about, was it Derrida? I think, which is slightly traumatizing for my theory class, but it's fine. Not as traumatizing as Foucault.
Yeah. There's a lot to be traumatized by from theory
In
class.
theory, yeah.
Yeah. I can't look over at my bookcase of nonfiction anymore because I moved it. I say I moved it. Seth moved it.
But anyway, I think all the tours we did went by 1140 Royal Street, one of the most infamous haunted houses, not only in the French Quarter, but also in America. And that's the address of the cursed LaLaurie Mansion.
Nicolas Cage. Oh,
I can't wait
Oh
to talk
my
about
God.
Nicolas Cage.
I know you can't wait.
He's such
You're
an enigma.
dying to talk about Nicolas Cage.
He's such an enigma.
He really is. He really is.
One time, when was that? Like 2 years ago? It must have been. As one of Hannah's birthday presents, I got her a mug that has a picture of Nicolas Cage wearing a flower crown, and it says, "You are my national treasure."
Yep. It sits in my cabinet of mugs.
Hell yeah, it does. So stupid.
Oh, well, I love it.
I think there is some backstory there that involved us watching National Treasure when we were in the field one time, I think.
Yes.
And then reenacting National Treasure when we were in Philly.
Yes.
Anyway, the mansion gets its name from Madame Marie Delphine LaLaurie. LaLaurie. I don't really know. It's French. Who cares? Shannon, if I said that to Shannon, he would say, "Your British is showing."
I was just gonna say, I immediately forgot what I was just going to say. Please continue.
Never mind. Okay,
Yeah.
She purchased the property in 1831. The LaLaurie name comes from her third husband, who was an 1800s version of a chiropractor.
Thank you. Sorry.
I saw the door open and I was like, and then I saw Seth and I was like, oh, no offense to Seth,
Yeah.
but he's not Milo.
No, you don't have to apologize to me. I know. I get it.
And this chiropractor guy was nearly 20 years younger than her. Cougar.
Oh my God. Good for her.
Oh, there's Milo.
Oh, hello. Come here. I even have your blue blankie.
Oh,
Come here.
my body is ready. Oh, he's so handsome. Okay, oh my God.
Whoa. That did sound needed. That sounded sudden and
It was like stuck right here for a hot minute.
necessary. Oh, I hate that.
So she came from a prominent Creole family, the McCardys, and in this context, I didn't know this, but originally the term Creole meant a family of French ancestry that was born in the colonies.
Hmm.
Which I don't really know that much about French colonialism, to be honest. I know you do.
I do. Too much, you could say.
So that was a fun thing I learned. And then the meeting later evolved to be like that mixing of culture that we know it to be today because enslavers and enslaved were living in close proximity. And of course, slavery was thriving in New Orleans, needless to say. But one thing that made the city more unique than other places was the number of white men freeing their enslaved mistresses and any children that were a product of those relations. That was like unheard of kind of at the time, apparently. And it's believed that Delphine's father had several, her name's Marie, but she went by Delphine, that her father had several such mistresses, and by the time Delphine was born, several of the wealthy families had participated in a coup against the new Spanish government because Spain took over, kicked out the French government, then Spain took over, which is why New Orleans is so weird and fun and European seeming. But so like the McCartys were fine with the French government, but they were also fine with the Spanish government.
Hmm.
So now they are like among the super elite of society. And this is one of the favorite things I learned. Despite the Spanish efforts, they couldn't get rid of the Frenchness of the city.
I'm not surprised. The French culture is very stubborn, I feel like.
Yeah.
Not just like the French people, but like French culture in general.
There was like so much I read about this part of history and like the evolution of society in New Orleans that I wanted to talk about for hours, but like
That's okay.
it's not really, you know, it's relevant to the story, but not really what we're talking about. So, this very simplified bit that seems important to provide context for the story today, as it is into this Spanish governed French colony that both slavery, freed people of color, and mixed race children that Delphine was born into. That's like, long story short, the context for her coming into this world. She was first married when she was 14 to a Spanish
Okay.
widower who was 35. He got in trouble for marrying her, not because she was 14, but because he didn't receive permission from the crown. So he had to go back to Spain, physically haul his ass back to Spain to petition for forgiveness, basically. And then a lot of sources say he died mysteriously, but it seems like he actually just died on the ship on the return journey because it's 1800s and
And everyone's dying
people
on
die.
ships.
Yeah.
People just be dying.
But she did have her first daughter with him before he died.
Mm.
So she was like, I don't know, 15 probably. It's fucking ridiculous.
Ah.
Yeah. Fast forward to 1807, the Louisiana Purchase has happened. New Orleans is thriving as an officially American city. Delphine is 20, and she marries her second husband, who is 43. another widower. This one is French, and he's an associate of Jean Lafitte. Super fun. But he had a bunch of debt, and when he died, she was 28, and she was left to clean up all of his financial messes and had four more kids as well. So she has five kids now. And finally, she meets her third husband. He is a doctor, not a particularly good one, allegedly. He's 15 years younger than her, like I said. They have a child out of wedlock in 1827. The
Sorry.
scandal. And they get married in 1828, though they falsify dates on documents to make it seem like they were married before their child was born.
Mm.
They originally lived on the plantation Villa Blanc that Delphine lived in with her second husband. But in 1831, Delphine wanted a townhouse, so they moved into a like new build, what I'm calling a new build, in
Yeah.
1831. And the thesis that I mentioned described the house really well. So I'm just going to read directly from that. The building that is called the LaLaurie Mansion today isn't the same building the LaLauries themselves lived in, with its flat roof and imposing facade. Their building would have had hipped roof with dormers, and there would be a far more delicate balcony rather than the wider gallery that now exists. The townhouse was American influenced and new when the LaLauries moved into it in 1831, as opposed to an older relic of a home that some legends claim. So in the house, there were the two of them, their own child, who was 5 at the time, the 4 children from her second marriage, who were grown-ass adults mostly. The youngest was 17. And presumably the child from her first marriage is super grown and somewhere else.
I hope so.
And of course, they're enslaved people. Neighbors observed that the couple fought frequently and would separate and come back together again. Like he would always leave and be gone for a few days and then come back. So probably what we would call volatile and toxic and so great. Uh,
What do you mean?
this is also when Delphine's treatment of the enslaved people under their roof was first questioned and investigated. And while it's bad that she abused people in general, it's still important to note that this is not unusual. It's pre-Civil War. And that thesis again brought up the point that a lot of people like to think that women during this time were just as much victims. But this paragraph, I'm going to quote it again because I was like, oh, this is well said. There's plenty of documented proof of white women that had just as much authority over enslaved people as their male counterparts. Stephanie Jones Rogers, a professor at UC Berkeley, discusses this in They Were Her Property, stating scholars who examine the authority that women held over their slaves frequently focus on the women's obligatory rather than voluntary or self-initiated management and discipline of enslaved people. When only looking at slave ownership as obligation, it sanitizes the fact that there are accounts of slave-owning women that held significant authority over enslaved people. This was a situation that happened with female enslavers all over the South, not just with Delphine. So I was like, damn.
White women will always victimize themselves.
Yes. But yeah, like I said, I just thought that was very well spoken. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts, not necessarily in preparation for our episode, but just because I listen to podcasts of, this nature that have covered the LaLaurie Mansion before. None of them ever talk about the historical context or address how the stories have been exaggerated over the years, or even that the stories were exaggerated at the time. So in our Americana season, I really wanted to make sure that I didn't do that I provided the context both to aid in the telling of this story and for our overall timeline of stories that shape our dark and weird history of America. Like, it sucks, but we all know and we have to acknowledge, as people have been screaming for years now, especially given our current political climate, that slavery happened and was such a significant part of why America is the way it is today. sure I'm preaching to the choir, if you're
For
listening
real.
to this podcast at all. Um, One of the most common stories you hear about Delphine is that she was so obsessed with beauty and demanded that her hair be brushed with 100 strokes each night by one of the enslaved girls. And on one particular night, the girl who was brushing her hair, sometimes identified as Leah, pulled too hard and sent Delphine into a fury, so she ran across the roof or the balcony to escape punishment before either falling or being pushed to her death on the courtyard below. Which is a story we heard on at least one of our tours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this incident that is said to be the cause of the investigation of Delphine's mistreatment initially. In 1832, things apparently got bad enough that Delphine petitioned the court for separation as her husband had beaten and injured her in front of guests at their home. Ultimately, her husband would be in and out of the house, like I mentioned. No separation ever lasting very long. Some accounts say that that he permanently left. And this is what drove her mad and caused her to be abusive to the enslaved people in the house. But it does actually sound like he was present in the house in 1834 when, in the early morning hours of April 10th, a fire broke out, destroying part of the house.
Oh no.
And this is when 7 enslaved people were found starving, tortured, and chained in the attic, allegedly. It was determined that the fire started in the kitchen, and the story spread that it was started on purpose by an enslaved woman who was chained to the stove as punishment, and that she was trying to call attention to their conditions and maybe even kill herself in the process.
Very proud of her.
These conditions being rather graphic, so skip forward if you don't want to hear. Tortured and experimented upon. One person was said to be found with their bones broken several times and reset unnaturally, so she moved like a crab. Another was said to have had a hole drilled into his skull and there was a wooden spoon sticking out. A victim of attempted brain stirring.
Okay, wait, what?
Like, they're saying that they found someone who had, like, the top of their head cut off,
Yeah.
and there was a wooden spoon to stir their brains.
What?
Um,
That I've never heard of that before. Okay,
that's like
please
one of the
continue.
most common things associated with this story. I don't think they mention it on the tours because it's gross.
I don't remember that. That's something I would remember.
Yeah.
That freaks me out.
Another was said to have had their skin peeled to expose muscles and tissues. Another
Mm.
had their intestines pulled out and wrapped around their waist. Another was covered in honey and ants. They said the quote unquote lucky ones were the ones they found dead. And it's this discovery that's believed to be the cause of much of the reported paranormal activity at the LaLaurie Mansion. Visitors have claimed to hear disembodied screams, moans, footsteps. Others have reported apparitions of Leah running across the roof or of Delphine herself. Paranormal investigators have documented EVPs and temperature fluctuations. And other visitors have reported an oppressive atmosphere and feeling unseen hands brush against their skin. So details of the scene soon emerged in local papers and then spread to national publications, which described Delphine as a monster, a demon in the shape of a woman, and fury itself escaped from hell.
Hmm.
Someone could describe me as that, and I'd take it as a compliment.
Oh my God.
Now you may find yourself thinking, that sounds a little far-fetched. And I'd have to agree with you. To start with, there's no actual account of a girl falling from the roof or the balcony. So I'm going to quote the thesis again because it's just too good. Delphine was an abusive slave owner, but it's unsure whether or not this behavior started before or was in response to being married to Dr. LaLaurie. Indeed, her second husband was a known slave dealer, and nothing about that occupation is kind. However, there's no evidence of any sort of abuse that comes forward before her time with LaLaurie, coupled with the fact that she accused him of abusive behavior towards her in 1832, which says something about LaLaurie's character that doesn't seem to fit the passive husband that the tales often speak of.
Hmm.
Several of the descriptions of the scenes exposed by the fire that night originate in the paper. It's called the New Orleans Bee newspaper. And the researchers at Ghost City Tours have basically said that paper's reputation is the equivalent of like the National Enquirer today.
Oh, hell yeah. And you could always trust the National
Yeah.
Enquirer.
So
Talking
there's
about how Obama and Queen Elizabeth were in a secret relationship one time.
is that something they said?
I wouldn't doubt it. I
Oh
just
my
made that
God.
shit up, but like, I wouldn't doubt it.
Talk about cougars, man.
For real. Hell yeah, Obama. Nice job. Sorry.
Anyway, very sensationalized and unreliable, obviously.
Yeah. The New Orleans Bee, you called it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just referred to as the Bee. They
The
point
Bee.
out that the Bee was the only contemporary publication to include stories about the mutilations and that their information came from a neighbor who was in love with Delphine and was spurned by her. So people said that he had pursued her for several years unsuccessfully. And what do men do when they're rejected?
Some crazy shit.
It was in 1934 when a magazine article, presumably acknowledging the centennial of the fire, addressed a lot of the information as being slander, gossip, hearsay, a smear campaign against Delphine. And despite this, the 1946 publication of Ghost Stories of Old New Orleans, Old New Orleans, uh,
It is so cool that that ghost stories were being told
yeah,
long ago, not just now.
yeah. So this is a like an anthology of New Orleans ghost stories. It came out in 1946. They're blah blah blah. That's where a lot of the more graphic descriptions originate, like the crab
Mm.
woman and the brain stirring. To
Hmm.
quote that thesis yet again, this sensationalization distorts the truth of the events that occurred, making those enslaved people nothing more than garish props.
Damn. Yeah. To like make her seem worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people will end the story or the ghost horror with the fact that no one really knows what happened to Delphine after that night, but that's not true either. There is a little uncertainty about what happened to her, but the LaLauries fled the city and left control of their estate and affairs to two of their sons-in-law. And they made it to New York City, where they boarded the Poland. Here they met American poet William Cullen Bryant, who journaled about his interactions with them. He wrote about how Delphine was often crying because of how the other women on board the ship were treating her, and that the
Hmm.
doctor seemed like a kind man, and the two seemed to have a solid marriage, which, to be fair, a lot of abusive men and relationships can come off that way if that is in fact the situation with them. And that thesis described his account as an outsider perspective that shows a look at Delphine as not a monster who took pleasure in hurting others, but a human being who was upset for being kicked out of her home, even if she really deserved justice for what she'd done. It also talks about how she openly missed New Orleans and wanted to return. Another quote, perhaps she was delusional and couldn't comprehend the severity of her actions, or perhaps she simply felt enough time had passed that she was no longer culpable or had never been culpable. Delphine was a small, graceful woman not capable of chaining up full-grown adults on her own, despite the constant claims that she was the sole villain. Someone helped her if she had involvement. That doesn't absolve her of any guilt, however. She was probably not the only guilty party. And I know when I came into this, I was hoping that we had another Elizabeth Bathory situation on our hands. And
Yes.
in some ways, it does seem like that may be the case, but we also can't quite chalk it up to just that because, like, she still owned and mistreated other human beings,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So it's not as black and white as Elizabeth Bathory, but around 1836, 1837, there was a rumor that Delphine was killed in a boar hunt. There is no evidence to support such a claim, and it's believed that this was supposed to be like a happy ending. The villain got a terrible death and some justice was served. But
Hmm.
records show that she died in 1849, with her body being exhumed and returned to New Orleans in 1851. And this is why there's some confusion about what actually happened to her. Some believe she was interned at St. Louis Cemetery Number 1 in the family tomb of her second husband, which I think Jamie, our tour guide, pointed out to us, if I remember correctly. Some believe the body wasn't exhumed at all. Ghost City Tours reports that in the 1930s, the sexton of the cemetery discovered an old cracked copper plate in the cemetery that said Madame LaLaurie, née Marie Delphine McCarty, something in French that basically looks like it says deceased in Paris, 7th December 1842, and then it's like kind of unreadable. So that's random and fun.
Sure.
As for the house, what was left after the fire was destroyed by an angry mob, potentially of good slave owners,
Oh.
quote unquote,
Uh-huh.
good
Okay.
slave owners,
Yeah, yeah,
who were
okay.
upset about the LaLauries making them look bad.
Hey.
It sat for about 3 years before being sold and renovated to its current state with the addition of the third floor and a rear building. And then it went through a string of owners and failed businesses, though again, several of the reportedly failed businesses have no records of ever existing. So it's likely that things have just been embellished to further this reputation of a cursed property. It was rented by a boys' school for a brief time. It became a music school after that. Uh, and by the 20s, that area had a bad reputation and it was essentially a tenement building. And even then, kids would charge a nickel to bypassers for them to like, hey, mister, you want to see a ghost? Give me a nickel. And they like let them come inside the house to try to see a ghost.
You want to see a
Hey,
ghost?
mister.
Give me a nickel. Hey there, mister.
Um,
Pal. You want to see some weird shit?
it's like, well,
You got a nickel?
Nicolas Cage famously bought the place in
Mm-hmm.
2006 for the supposed purposes of writing his own great American horror novel.
Strange. Strange,
I know.
man.
Most people just hone in on this and the fact that it was foreclosed upon, but apparently he also bought the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Chapel, which was at the time one of Anne Rice's homes, but he also lost that in the foreclosure. Then a wealthy Texas business guy bought the LaLaurie Mansion and has been the only person to own the property longer than the LaLauries did. It sounds like he just used it as a vacation home for his family and friends to stay there when they're in town. And as we had posted about on social media, he put it on the market last year. Um, and it ended up actually, this is really unfortunate. It ended up being bought by US Ghost Adventures, which is one of those companies that you can like book ghost
Oh.
hunts through. They also own like the Lizzie Borden house and the Villisca Axe murder house.
Yeah, I'm betting maybe there was some kind of agreement where this guy was like, give me a ton of money
Yeah,
for it, or let me have part of the profits.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
And it might have just been that like no one really wants to buy it because of the
Yeah,
reputation
for
that it
real.
has. You know, he used it as a vacation home. Not all of us are that rich to have a fucking vacation home in the French Quarter, homie.
I can't even have a home.
Yeah, right.
Are you kidding?
So that's really what I have to say. The only significant pop culture reference is Kathy Bates as Delphine in American Horror Story, the Coven season. But
Yeah. What are some other haunted places in New Orleans that you know of? Because I know the French Quarter is obviously going to be pretty far up there, but like when we were there, we only toured or took ghost tours in the French Quarter. But I really wonder.
Yeah, I don't know of any outside of the French Quarter, I don't think, to be honest. I mean, I can list a bunch of
I
stuff
don't
in the
know.
French Quarter.
Oh yeah, I think that the what is it called? The Superdome? That's got to be haunted because you've
Oh,
heard the stories of that place during Katrina,
yeah.
right?
I
Like
mean, that
about
makes
how
sense. Like how when we talked about the Chicago, was it the Eastland disaster in Chicago and how they put all the bodies in that factory building and now that factory building's supposed
Mhm.
to be super haunted. I imagine it's kind of like same thing but on a larger scale
Yeah,
because Katrina was fucking crazy.
yeah. It was never really meant to be like serve as an emergency shelter for
Yeah.
so many people. It was really only supposed to be for some folks for a very short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like but the thing is, they didn't even have enough supplies for what they said they did.
Mm-hmm.
And not only were there way more people than they thought um, who were going to show up that were displaced by the floods, they super didn't have
Yeah.
enough supplies, and they couldn't do anything about trash, and people were using the restroom everywhere. And there are reports that like some people died there, but that's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
ugh. Um,
Yeah. I guess ugh, there's the one place that's just outside the French Quarter. It's
just north, Lafitte.
it's in I mean it's like barely I mean honestly I'd still say it was like technically in the French Quarter. Um one second. Let me Google something. It's on Rampart Street. Yeah, it's near a place called the Rampart Tree House, which I was like, oh, this place would be fun to check out, but I never made it over there.
Hmm.
And like Rampart Street goes through the French Quarter, but I think this destination's like right on the outskirts. But basically, um, BuzzFeed Unsolved went here on their paranormal season back when it was still BuzzFeed Unsolved. They Miriam, Priestess Miriam's like voodoo temple or something like that. But after
God.
Katrina, there was this couple they met in the aftermath of Katrina, and they lived in the apartment above the voodoo temple. And he was really mentally unstable, murdered her and dismembered her, left her in the apartment,
Slay.
and then a few days later, he jumped off the roof of a building. And when police like came to get his body, they found this like full handwritten confession in his pocket. Like her head was like in the oven, and like her limbs were in the bathtub. Like something was
Okay.
part of her was in the refrigerator.
God, he really
Anyway, that
wasn't
place is
okay.
supposed to be. No, he wasn't. And like he was fully like, oh my God, what have I done? Like it
Yeah.
was really mentally. And the two of them, before all that, the two of them were like these, uh, they were kind of like heroes of this aftermath of Katrina. Like they
Hmm.
stayed, they did what they could to help people and like teach them how to kind of like fend for themselves in the aftermath of the hurricane.
It really goes to show that those who struggle the most are usually the ones to help
Yeah.
people.
And I think, if I remember correctly, I think he had been in the military as well. And like, this is George Bush's era, so
Yeah.
not great military stuff going
Yeah, I
on.
wonder
And
if he was part of the 2004 um, waves
yeah,
of troops sent to Iraq.
I mean, yeah, it just says he's in the army and he had PTSD. Like, no shit. Yeah, well, that's not important. Well, it is important, but not.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I would love to go to it. They did two episodes back to back. BuzzFeed Unsolved did in New Orleans. That was
Mhm.
the second episode. The first one, they stay at it's the hotel. I think I've told you this before. The hotel that used to, it's a hotel now. It used to be where the brothels were, and that's where Lulu worked.
Yeah, Yeah, we walked by there.
Yeah, and I took the picture because I was like, I need to. Yeah, they stayed there. That place is supposed to be super haunted. I would
Yeah,
love
it's
to
on
stay
the
there.
same street as the Museum of Death
Yeah,
that we didn't go
I
into, which is fine.
no,
It's fine.
yeah. I feel like that place. I read not great reviews about it. I don't think it's done tastefully.
It's really not. I heard that it had improved, but if you heard different, then I'm glad we didn't go.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the one place I think that I would like to go and stay at least for a night there and just kind of scope out the vibes.
There are a lot of like really interesting like historic hotels in the area, which I guess I
Yeah.
just never knew existed. Maybe because every time I'd look on like Google Maps or whatever, like wanting to travel to New Orleans, I'd be like, oh, too expensive. Oh, too expensive.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I think the other thing I would splurge on is getting the table at Muriel's.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Me too. That would be pretty dope.
Yeah, like eat some good food, dine with a ghost. Hell yeah.
Because there's 4 seats, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So it'd have to be you, me,
you
and
have to,
somebody else. Oh,
or just you and me.
your door is opening.
Come here. Oh, you scared me.
What's happening right now? Oh dear God. That's pretty good, actually.
Wait, come back, come back, come back. You still need to.
I haven't done anything.
You haven't done. Okay,
I was making a little Mr. Bridge.
okay. How's that going? Oh, this is sexy belly.
I didn't know if I should do the belly or not.
It might be a little uncomfortable.
It's gonna be warm as fuck there.
Yeah, you can take your jacket off. But
Yeah, well,
sorry, Hannah said it's gonna be warm as fuck. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you didn't hear that. But yeah, babe, looks good. Okay, we'll finish painting it when we're done.
Okay.
Not we're done. We'll finish painting it when we're done. Anyway, okay, well. Oh, scared the shit out of me.
That is so funny.
At first I was like, I'm not gonna put that much. Sorry for everyone listening. I don't know how much of that I'll actually cut out or not, but in case I don't cut a lot of it out, Shayna just walked in here with his fucking walrus mask and his full outfit, and it scared me.
It was so awkward because I like saw the door, like because your background was like blurry. Well, your webcam was like more tilted up, so I could see the
Oh
door.
yeah.
And like your background's like blurry, and I saw the whatever's on the back of your door like shift, and I was like, and that's before I said anything. And then I saw fingers come around, and I'm like,
Oh God.
I think your door is open.
When you said that, I just saw it was open a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, Luna just pushed it open." So when I turned, like that's what I was expecting. So when I turned around and just saw like the
Yeah,
fucking mask,
because
I was like,
saw you
"Ah!"
like look down.
Yeah.
Ugh. That is so funny. Oh
Anyway,
gosh. Anyway.
the end. Okay, bye.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how to wrap it up.
Oh yeah.
That's all I had. We had a conversation. We're excited for tonight. We'll tell you all about it later.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
bye.
Bye.
Well, that concludes this week's broadcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you wish to stay in touch, reach out to us at broadcastfromthebelfry@gmail.com or stalk us on Instagram at broadcastfromthebelfry. Again, I hope you've enjoyed our little show. Please rate and review. And until next week, stay spooky.